Have you ever wondered why some events in the world feel less like coincidences and more like choreography? Why markets react faster than governments? Why political decisions seem to align suspiciously well with corporate interests? Why crises always seem to hurt the same people and benefit the same few? It asks a question most people whisper but never dare to say out loud. Do billionaires actually control the world? And the reason this question has so much power is because the moment you ask it, you feel a tension inside yourself, a tug-of-war between logic and suspicion. You know, the official story, that governments rule, that democracy rules, that people rule. But then you look at how the world moves, how wealth concentrates, how influence flows, and the story starts to fracture. If billionaires don't control the world, then why does everything keep bending in their direction? That discomfort you feel right now, that's the fracture line between what we're told and what we see. The truth is unsettling because it forces us to confront something we intuitively sense but rarely articulate. Billionaires do not simply own companies. They own networks, incentives, leverage, media, technologies, supply chains, patents, data, political doors, entire ecosystems of influence that exist outside any ballot box. And once you understand how influence actually moves not in speeches, but in shadows, you start to see a pattern. Power doesn't scream. Power whispers. Power doesn't punch. Power rearranges the room until resistance becomes impossible. And the deeper you look, the more you realize that the modern billionaire is not just wealthy. They are a new kind of geopolitical actor, one that sits neither inside nor outside the system, but above it. To understand this, imagine a chessboard where most people play with pawns and a few play with queens. Governments move slowly, tied to elections, committees, diplomatic protocols. Billionaires move instantly. They shift capital across borders at the tap of a keyboard. They influence currencies, shape regulations before they are written, and tilt markets simply by hinting at investment or withdrawal. When a billionaire speaks, markets tremble. When a government speaks, markets wait. That asymmetry tells a story more honest than any official explanation. It tells us that power follows liquidity, not authority. Influence follows capital, not constitutions. This isn't a conspiracy, it's a structure. And once you see the structure, you can't unsee it. But here's where the story gets more dangerous, more psychological, more personal. Billionaires don't operate by forcing control. They operate by bending incentives, by setting the conditions under which everyone else must operate. A government forced into economic crisis cannot resist the terms of the financier. A startup suffocating for funding cannot say no to the investor. A media ecosystem dependent on advertising cannot bite the hand that feeds it. And slowly, subtly, invisibly, decisions across entire societies shift, not because someone demanded it, but because someone financed it. That's what real control looks like, quiet shaping, not loud commanding. As the decades passed, the power gap widened. In the year 1980, billionaires were rare. Today, their combined wealth rivals the GDP of major nations. Technology transformed them from industrial titans into global emperors. Data made them omnipresent. Algorithms made them omnipotent. Their companies invade daily life. What you search, what you buy, what you watch, how you think, how you vote. Influence is no longer at the top of the pyramid. It is embedded in the architecture of reality. When a billionaire owns the platform that mediates the world, they don't have to control governments. Governments depend on them. And yet, the narrative we're fed insists that they are simply successful individuals, navigating the system like everyone else. But the system doesn't treat everyone the same. It bends for those who can reshape it. Think of how policy shifts when a billionaire threatens to move their factories. Think of how tax codes evolve when billionaire-backed lobbyists push for adjustments. Think of how international diplomacy changes when billionaire-owned strategic industries become leverage in negotiations. One billionaire can influence the outcome of elections without ever appearing on a ballot. One billionaire can shift the direction of scientific research, global trade, public discourse, even war, without holding any official title. And this is where the unsettling truth emerges. Billionaires don't need to control the world in a cinematic villainous sense. The world is simply designed in a way that rewards whoever can move the most capital with the most freedom. They are not kings. They are gravitational centers. They don't order planets to orbit them. Planets orbit them because physics demands it. Still, it would be a mistake to assume all this leads to a single world puppet master. The truth is more complex, more fragmented, more dangerous. Billionaires are not a unified force. They compete. They collide. Their interests clash. Some shape the world through industry, some through media, some through innovation, some through philanthropy that doubles as influence. And the real story isn't that billionaires control everything. The real story is that they control enough to tilt outcomes. Enough to redirect the flow of history without anyone voting for them. Enough that the question, who really holds the power, doesn't have a comfortable answer. And if this makes you feel uneasy, good. That discomfort is the beginning of clarity. We live in a world where wealth and power have fused into something entirely new, something beyond the imagination of previous centuries. But understanding this does not mean surrendering to cynicism. It means finally seeing the machinery that moves the world. And once you see the machinery, you can navigate it instead of being crushed by it. If this journey peeled back layers you've never considered before, consider subscribing to the Economic Rewind Vault, not for me, but because our next episodes will expose even deeper forces shaping your financial reality. And speaking of forces, in our next episode we confront a question even more explosive. Do governments create inflation intentionally? If you think you know the answer, wait until you see the mechanisms hiding behind the curtain. You won't want to miss what comes next.